Okay, we have this photograph that I took of a tufted titmouse back in February of this year, 2023. And if you look at the histogram at the top right hand side, it's not a bad histogram. It's pretty well exposed properly. Nothing seems to be blowed out. If I click on the little box here, nothing's showing up, and the highlights, nothing's showing up there. So I would say that this exposure is pretty good. So the first thing I want to do is I bring it into Lightroom, and I always use the auto feature in the tone control, and this does a pretty good job, Lightroom does. So I'm going to select auto right here in this button, and as you can see, it's already made some changes to the photograph, which are pleasing. There's a few things I like to do first, and it is shot at ISO 3200. I don't normally apply my denoise till after I do my basic edits. So the first thing I want to do is select the bird only, and I'm going to use Lightroom's new masking feature, and you just click on this button right here at the top. It says masking, or you can use Shift W to get into it quicker. And I'm going to tell the masking feature to select the subject by clicking on this box right here. And it did a pretty good job of the bird. It missed its feet down here, but for this purpose here, I'm not going to be too fussy about that. Then what I want to do is I want to reduce the exposure on the background. So I'm going to go right here to the three dots and click, and I'm going to select duplicate and invert mask. And what that's going to do is it's going to reverse the mask so the background is selected. And if you'll notice that the overlay is in red, so it shows you what's been selected. So I'm going to go down and adjust my sliders for this mask, and I'm going to reduce my exposure by about 3/4 of a stop. And I'm going to go ahead and bring the contrast down, the highlights, and that's about all I usually do to a background. I just reduce the exposure, contrast, and highlights. I pretty much do that for every photograph, or every wildlife photograph I'd use. I'm going to go back to the mask for the bird, which is mask number 1. If you look at that, the highlights are a little blowed out, so I'm going to reduce the highlights, and it's already bringing those into play. And I'm going to reduce the contrast on the bird just a little bit. And I'm going to add some manual contrast myself. I'm going to put a little bit of whites and reduce the blacks a little bit. So these are basically your settings right here for this photograph. I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm not going to fool with the white balance or anything. I really kind of like the mood of this photograph, how blue it is. I'm going to go ahead now and apply Topaz Denoise to this. So I right click on the photograph, go down to Edit In, and I select my Topaz Denoise and leave it at defaults. I think the main takeaway from this video here is what we do in Lightroom as far as the edits, then doing the denoise, and then applying some Photoshop techniques to clean the photograph up. And I'm going to look at these different models it has. This is the standard one. This is clear. This is low light. And you can change these, and this is severe noise. I kind of like the clear model the best. It looks the best. And when I'm going to click on this photograph right here, where clear is, and it's going to show you that the model preferences are on automatic. And I like the way Topaz does things. They tend to do a pretty good job of this. So I'm just going to say apply. And it's going to take it and process it and bring it back into Lightroom. It's taking its sweet time. All right, here's the denoise image. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply crop to this before I take it over to Photoshop to clean it up. And I just noticed something here we can fix. The eyes of this bird, okay, they're kind of dark. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in the develop module and apply another mask, And this time I'm going to use the brush tool, and I'm just going to come over to its eyes. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, and I'm going to brush in this area right here. And I believe I want to kind of lighten this area up too. These are the areas I'm selecting. I'm going to go ahead and pick some of this. And I think what I'm going to do is increase the exposure a little bit. And you'll see there it's bringing the eyes out pretty nice. You can almost see the reflection of my house in there. I'm going to increase the shadows just a tad, not much. And I think I'm going to warm it up just a tear. It's trying to get a little blue on me. Change the white balance just a little bit right there. And we'll go ahead and accept that by clicking on the mask tool. And now you can see the eye looks a lot better than what it did in the beginning. So what I need to do now is show you a comparison model. And I'm going to select both of these photographs and go to the compare view. And as you can see, the one on the right, okay, the one on the right is where we started, and the one on the left is where we finished so far. And it's a lot cleaner, the eye looks a lot better, and the bird has a lot of detail in it and texture. Okay, so we'll go back to single view. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go into Photoshop. I'm going to apply a crop to this. So I'm just going to do I'm just going to reduce it by the original size. Keep the original. I don't really like this trellis that's in there. And I would like to keep the pine cone as much as I can. I might have to do something with this. I'm going to go with that crop right there. I'm going to remove some of these items in Photoshop. It's going to be a lot to remove, and I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to accept that crop. And what we're going to do now is take this into Photoshop. So I do a right click on the image, go edit in Photoshop. Edit a copy. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to select this tool right here, which is this has got, if you hold your mouse key down, you'll see all the different tools that are in there. So it'd be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th one down on my Photoshop. As long as yours is set up standard, it should be the 7th one down. The remove tool is what I want. So that's this tool right here. And the first thing I want to remove is this twig right here that's just sticking up right in the middle of the picture. It's very distracting to me. So I'm just going to take my mouse and paint over that and release it and see what it does. It did a pretty good job, really. I kind of like it. I think it'll be okay. There's a little bit of let's go back one. It took out a little bit more than I wanted it to take out. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit on that, and let's see if we can do a little bit better here. I'm just going to do small, oops, that's not it. Hit the J key, reduce the size, and we're just going to paint back and forth like this. Let's see what that does. And we'll try this. And this. I'm going to go all the way down like this. Try to get a little bit farther outside the area you want to do so it'll sample more of it. That looks pretty natural right there. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and go back. Yeah, you can't hardly tell that I removed that. It's pretty amazing. Here's another distracting element down here. So we'll go ahead, we've got the tool selected, and we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with that one. We're going to kind of paint over it like this. I'm going to go ahead on up into this trellis and that screw that's holding that twig on. Let's just see what that does. Wow, that's pretty good. Let's just go ahead and get rid of the rest of this trellis, which is right here. Like I said, you want to oversample just a little bit outside of what you're trying to do, just so Lightroom selects there you go. I mean, that's just pretty cool. Now, I think what I want to do is this branch right here looks kind of weird. I think what I'm going to do is use the clone stamp and clone that in a little bit. We'll reduce that brush size and we'll hold down the Option key or the Alt key on a PC and make a selection. And then what I'm going to do is just paint that in right there. Do that again, Option, click, and there's how you do that. Okay, so that's pretty good. And what I like to do now is I just noticed here it's pretty bright right here, almost to the point of blown out. I like to reduce the exposure on that. So what I'm going to do is Camera Raw while I'm in Photoshop. I'm going to take my background layer and I'm going to duplicate it by dragging it down to the plus key. I'm going to go up to the filter menu, Camera Raw filter. I'm going to go to, I think I better do a mask first. Well, actually I can do it afterwards. I'm going to go into the basic tab and I'm going to reduce the highlights, okay? Quite a bit. Now I'm reducing it over the whole picture, and that's not my intent, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to accept this and I'm going to go brush out or brush in what I want. So when I say okay, it's going to return me back to Photoshop. And what I'm going to do right now is the whole picture got minus highlights. So I'm going to create a mask right here. I'm going to Command I to invert the mask, and I'm going to paint with a white brush, and I'm going to paint right here, hit the B key, all this right here where we reduce the highlights. Just this area right here. Oops, got a little bit more. Start again. Let me zoom in so I can see this. Okay, now we're going to use the brush key. I'm at 100% opacity. Pretty bright here. It's not blowed out according to the histogram. Let's just start all over again. I want to change my opacity down. Brush. I'm going to drop it down to 50%. Just paint a little bit at a time. This is looking pretty good right now. I think I kind of like that. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and flatten that layer since I'm done with that. And then I'm going to zoom back out. So it looks pretty good from what I look at here. It looks fairly good. And this is just a basic edit on it. This is my first time doing one of these, so I'm not sure if it's going to help you or not. You can try it and see. Hopefully I'll get a little bit better as I do more of these. So when we're done in Photoshop, we just go to File and Save, and it'll save this. And we can exit Photoshop. And we're back in Lightroom with the changes. So what I'm going to do now is show you the before and after. Go to the library module, hit the compare, and as you can see, the branch that was right here has been removed. The piece of the trellis and the screw has been removed, and it's a much better picture than what it was when we started. Okay, all that's left to do now is export it and post it to social media. So I hope you found that interesting tonight, and hopefully you learned something from it, how I edit a bird photographs. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up, and I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to increase my followers, and leave me a comment, whether it's good or bad. I'm always reading my comments and commenting back, and there's no good or bad comments, okay? Just be nice and don't be rude. And if I did something that you have found that you could do better and you want to share that with everybody, well, go ahead and leave a comment. Okay, until next time, this is Ron Durant, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.